Hello, here we are, next class. Hope you've all had a good Easter. Weather wasn't so good, was it? But never mind. It's bank holiday, what do you expect? Lie down class, I'm going to focus a bit more on warm up in the lower back stretches today because you might have all been in the garden a bit, so we'll have a bit more lower back stretching in the warm up, a little bit of happy baby, and then we'll crack on. So about an hour, thereabouts, but as always, do as much or as little as you feel like today. Stop, start it, come back to it. Find one that suits you better if you fancy. I don't mind. Right then, put this on and we'll go. So, as always, check you've got enough space. Check you've got everything you need so you're all set and won't be disturbed. Cushion for your head if you want. Rolled up towel, blanket, duvet. What kind of day you're having. So when you're ready, lie yourself down on your mat. Legs bent or straight, whichever suits you better, and just fidget around a little bit and give your body time to get used to being down on the floor. Focus first of all on your breathing. Don't hold your breath, but a nice breath in and a breath out. So try and level them up as much as you can. So when you count your breath in and then count your breath out, and they're about the same. Start to notice your rib cage expanding and contracting. Start to notice where your shoulders are. Are they up too close to your ears? Fidget them around. Start to notice your lower back. Is your pelvis a little bit tilted too much one way or the other, or off to one side? So just level up and get yourself comfy. Start to stretch your spine out a little bit. Remember, we're always floating rather than sinking. Relax your face muscles and your neck, across your shoulders. Okay, and we're going to start to move, so we'll start just turning the head from side to side. Might hear a little bit of creaking to start with. Not forcing any stretching, just going to where your range naturally ends and then coming back. Not too quick. Okay, hopefully the creaking starts to reduce, maybe even goes away altogether. Don't forget to keep that nice steady breathing pattern. When you feel ready, just hold your head over to one side for a couple of breaths. Relax the opposite shoulder down. Close your eyes if you want to. And when you're ready, back to centre and over to the other side. As you tilt your head to the side, try and relax the opposite shoulder. And just stay there and breathe. You're going to do that again a couple of times. Just go to your own breathing. I'm not going to tell you when to breathe in and when to breathe out. We're all a bit different. Just make sure you're feeling a full breath in and out and not feeling dizzy. One more. And come back to centre. Okay. Fidget the shoulders around. We're going to start to just loosen the shoulders. So whichever arm you fancy starting with, bend it. Just let the hand lightly rest on the shoulder and start to circle the elbow. And we're just loosening up inside that shoulder joint. Again, not forcing any range, just going to where it feels natural to go to. Reverse your circle when you're ready. Stay on that same side, and if you feel that that's loosening up enough, you can go into your straight arm circle. But again, just check the opposite shoulder hasn't tensed as you make the move bigger. Try and sweep past your ear and out and around. If that's creaking or feeling that you're pinching anything, just go back to the bent arm. And again, just reverse your circle when you feel ready. a couple more, and then move on to the other side. So when you move to your other arm, remember it's new for this side, so start with the bent arm circle again. Just give you an idea of how it's feeling. Reversing when you're ready. They're not going to be the same, you're not going to have complete symmetry on both sides, so you're going to have one shoulder a little bit more creaky than the other. But when you're ready, if you want to on this other side, you can go into the big arm circle. But again, if there's any pinching as that arm moves, go back to the bent arm one. Remember to lengthen out along your mat, not sinking down into it. Reverse your circle when you're ready. So just that idea of sort of floating on your mat, it means you're starting to use these core muscles a little bit. Okay, and then if that feels alright, into both arms together. So float the arms up to the ceiling and just squeeze your belly a little bit to keep your ribs still as your arms start to travel back. We don't want that rib cage to lift, and then out and around. So lift up, and as your arms start to pull back, squeeze your ribs down towards your hips. So you want to feel that kind of nice opening feeling and stretching your back muscles a little bit. Just check the shoulders are still down, they haven't crept up round your ears. On your next one, lace your fingers together and just put your hands underneath your head. Reset your shoulders so you're not feeling any pinching. And then you're going to do a bit of flapping on those wings. So you're going to bring your elbows in and take them out. And as they go towards the floor, you squeeze your shoulder blades together. Again, only to where it feels comfortable. Don't worry about how far the elbows are from the floor. Just get to that nice stretch. Squeezing the shoulder blades together. So we're just warming up around the chest and the upper back muscles. So if you've been leaning forward or in the garden, you might be a little bit tight here. If you find doing one arm on its own easier to start with, then do that. You can stay moving, or I'm going to come into just a static hold for a little bit, so you can join me if you want. So you're going to take the elbows out and squeeze them together, and you're just going to make sure you feel comfy. You're going to stay there. And you're going to breathe deep, and I want you to feel your rib cage moving as you breathe now. So really trying to pull the air in. And then push it out. Keep working those shoulders back and down. Drag the air right down into your belly. And push it out. Couple more. One more. Lovely. Okay, let your arms go. Hopefully feel a little bit looser across the shoulders. So take your arms out to the side, palms facing up, thumbs about level with the top of your shoulders, and we're going to twist from the waist. So you're going to bring your knees and your feet comfortably together, and the cushion between your knees if you find that more comfy. And you're going to twist from the waist. Take your knees over to one side, to centre, and over to the side. Let your feet stack. So your one foot lifts off the floor as you twist, and then comes back. Don't worry if you're not going very far. Any pinching, stop. Don't keep going into a pinch. You can turn your head and look away from your knees if you want. A little bit more stretch on that neck. Good. Take your time. You can match this to your breathing if you want to. So you can breathe in as your knees go away. And breathe out as your knees come together. But if that's too much of a faff, just breathe. And again, you can stay with this moving if you want, or come into a static hold with me if you feel ready. So for static, you just go over to the side like you've just done. Turn your head if you want to, and stay there for a couple of breaths. And as you breathe out, I want you to imagine that warm air, rather than coming out of your nose or your mouth, working its way down this top leg and warming it all up. And back to centre and over to the side. If that's made you feel everything's tightened up again, just go back to the moving. Sometimes you're not quite warm enough for a static hold. If you feel alright, over to the side. Breathe in and breathe that warm air down your leg. Relax the shoulders. Couple of times there, breaths there, and then back to centre, and do the whole thing once more. So over to your first side, turn your head away and breathe deep a couple of times. Right down that leg. And back, and once more. Okay, come back to centre and we'll start to warm the legs up. So fidget around, get yourself comfy, arms just comfortably down by your side, stretch the spine out, tighten the belly a little bit, and you might want to just lift and lower your hips just to reset them so your weight is just above your tailbone. So you want that straight line from belly button to pubic bone now. So zip up a little bit, tighten your corset a little bit, and then whichever leg you fancy starting with, you're going to straighten it out along the floor. Pull your toes towards your knee so you get that stretch in your calf. Relax your ankle and pull the foot back in. Sorry, I should have said start with your knees bent on this one because I forgot you might not be. So start with your knees bent, soles of the feet on the floor, straighten your leg out, pull your toes towards your knee, get that stretch in the calf. Relax your ankle and bring the foot back in. I need your pelvis to stay as still as possible. So imagine that glass or whatever balanced on your belly as you do this one, because I need you to work from your hip down. So try and keep your weight really centred in the centre of your pelvis and straighten the leg. Float the spine. So we're going to get some leg work here. We're warming up the legs nicely, but we're also getting a bit of core warming as well. So straighten, pull the toes towards the knee, stretching the calf, relax the ankle and bring the leg back in. Try and follow the same line with the leg, so it always goes in and out on exactly the same line. It's not waving around. Okay. Stay with this if you've got any issues with your hips at the moment, or if you're ready to move it on. Straighten the leg out like you just did. Press down a little bit into your other foot, and this straight leg, you're going to lift it off the floor. If you can, bring it up so your knees are level, so you've got sort of a 45-ish angle. Back down. Bend the knee and slide the foot back to the start position. Same on the other leg. So you slide the leg out until it's straight, press down a little bit on your bent leg and lift this straight leg up. And pull it down. And I want you to feel it around the top of that hip. And again, repeat. So out and lift. Push down on your other leg a little bit, it'll help. Feel it around the top of that thigh. Down and in. Once more. Straighten. If it's too much, just stay along the floor. Press down on the bent leg, pull this straight leg up. And down and in. And we're going to warm up around the outside of the leg. If you've got any issues with your hip, what I want you to do, this next move might be a bit much. So what you do instead is straighten the leg along the floor, slide it out to the side until your hip kind of stops you, and then bring it back in and bend it again. So it's out, along the floor, out to the side, back in, bend the knee. That's the slightly easy version, but if you can, straighten the leg like you did before, lift it until your knees are about level, keep your knee and big toe facing the ceiling and move the leg out to the side. Press into your bent leg to balance you, pull the leg back to centre, pull it down on the floor bend it back to start position. Repeat on the other leg. So straighten the leg out, stretch your body, press down a little bit through your bent leg, through that foot, lift this straight leg up, knee and big toe facing the ceiling, move the leg out to the side. You're going to feel a stretch on your inner thigh. Pull the leg back in, pull it down, bend it so the foot goes back to the floor. Repeat again on the other side. So straighten, stretch the body, press into your bent leg and lift the straight leg up. Knee and big toe stay facing up. Move the leg out to the side so you feel a stretch on your inner thigh. Pull it back in. Put your leg back to the floor, bend your knee. Once more on the other leg. Straighten, lift, move out, pull in, put the leg down, bend the knee. Job done, lovely. Stretch the back of the leg a little bit. So now I want you to straighten your right leg out. If you've got any hip replacement or any problems with the hip, do this move, but only to where it feels right for you. You might not come past 90 degrees and that is absolutely fine. I don't want any forcing or any dislocating of these hips. So you've got your right leg straight, your bent leg's bent, your right leg straight, your left leg's bent. You're going to lift your left foot off the floor to about 90 degrees. You're going to reach with your hands, so you just touch this bent leg and you're going to draw that bent leg towards you. So that left leg comes towards you. And again, until you've got a stretch around the hip area. It might be on the back of this left leg, it might be on the front of the right leg. Just draw it in. While you're holding that stretch, circle your foot on this left leg. I bet you're already doing that. You've done this one that often, the automatic. Circle your foot a few times, get your ankle working. Now I need you to press down on the base of that spine to stop your pelvis rocking back. I need you to have your natural curve in your lower back. Okay. So put the left foot down, straighten it out. We'll repeat on the right. So left leg stays straight. We bend the right leg. We lift it to about 90 degrees and we just reach forward with the hands. And it comes towards, that right knee comes towards us until we've got a stretch around these upper leg muscles somewhere. Natural curve in your lower back, pressing your way into the bottom of your spine. Circle your foot. We're just loosening hamstrings and lower back. Circle the foot. Good for your circulation and your ankle mobility while you're here. We'll do that all again once more. So straighten the right leg out, bend the left leg, lift it, and as it starts to come towards you, just reach for it. You might hold the front of your leg on your trousers, you might reach around the back. Doesn't matter, wherever you can reach comfortably. But try not to just pull the knee in and tilt your pelvis back. You'll know if you have, because your straight leg just pings straight up off the floor. So on a natural curve in the back, we're on the weight on the tailbone, and it almost feels like you're doing the splits. You get that nice stretch in the hips. Circle your foot a few times. Relax your shoulders. I want you to now, this second go through with this, I want you to let this bent leg feel quite heavy and just feel it sink in towards your belly. Nice stretch for the lower back, this one. Okay. And your other leg, so straighten that left leg out, bend and lift your right leg, let it start to come towards you and reach, relax the shoulders, press down on your tailbone, keep a neutral spine and breathe. And while you're waggling your foot around, let this leg feel nice and heavy, almost like it's trying to press up against your belly. If you tighten your abdominal muscles, you'll feel them pulling the leg in towards you a bit. Okay, I'm going to bring the knees into the chest. Again, if you've got any hip issues where you find this doesn't suit you, alternative move is to keep your feet on the floor and let your hips rock backwards and forwards gently. Just so you feel that curve in your back, just getting a nice bit of stretch. Nice alternative if the next move isn't for you. But if you're okay in the hip department, bring both knees in and just let your arms just sit at the back of your knees, just to give you a bit of support. And that curve in your back is touching the mat pretty much now. It's flattened out a little bit. Relax your shoulders. You can stay here. If your back's very tight, it's quite nice just to lie still. Or if you're a bit of a fidgeter, just let the legs rock gently backwards and forwards. So you feel you're massaging that pelvis and lower back area. Just rocking backwards and forwards. Finding those knots and massaging that. Don't yank. Sometimes with this one, I see people's biceps bulging. They're working that hard on moving those legs around. Just let the legs rock. It's the lower back. We're trying to just loosen it up a little bit. And if it's very tight, it's not going to help you yanking those legs into your chest. Just rocking into it. This is where we get to the happy baby, I promised you. So for the happy baby, you come back to still and have your knees wider. And again, just let your hands sit at the back of your knees. So you've got your knees wider and you're going to feel a stretch around the inner thigh. Relax the shoulders. Let the arms go heavy against your legs and let your legs go heavy. Remember that breathing we did when we did the supine twist? I want you to breathe in, and as you breathe out, imagine all that warm air just around your hips and your leg muscles, and let your body sink. I'm allowing you to sink now. You're not going to float. You can sink into your mat like it's a nice, comfortable mattress. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, just sink. If you're not happy in this happy baby position, feet are back down on the floor, soles turned inwards, and knees just relax out. It just supports your weight. You're still going to get a stretch around the pelvis, but your lower body weight is supported on the floor. So that's your option if it suits you better. Okay, a little bit of hamstring stretching. So if you just bring your legs back to 90 degrees sort of, so your knees about level with the crease in your hip, and just with your hands at the back of the legs for support, you're going to straighten and bend your legs one at a time to start with. Doesn't matter if it doesn't fully straighten, just feel that stretch on the back of your hamstring, on the back of your thigh, your hamstrings. Stretch it up. You can do this by leaning your legs against the wall if you're close enough, if you want to, and you won't get shouted at for dirtying the wallpaper. Stretching up. Might feel this a little bit tight in the knee, and if the leg starts to shake and it's just not comfortable, that's sliding along the floor again is your other option, because again your weight will be supported. If you want to now, you can do both legs together. Hands at the back of the legs just to support the weight, so the legs can sit against your hands. That will help take some of the weight out of the leg muscles. Stretching. Hold this stretch for a few seconds if it suits you. Relax the shoulders. Feet just as far as feels comfortable for you. Stretching these legs out. Alright, put your feet down and have a full body stretch. Right the way from head to toes. If you want to take your arms behind you, you can. Or you can keep them out to the side or down by your body, whatever you want. But I want you to stretch out. I want all the bones in your spine to get a little bit more space. Stretch out of those hips. Lovely. Okay, bring your arms back down. I'll say that again in English for those of you who don't speak gibberish. Bring your arms back down by your side and bend your knees. So we're going to go into just our core strength work now. We're going to start with some knee folds and we'll build up from there. Grab a drink if you want. Get yourself comfy. Right, block under your head if you want to. For the first bit, we'll start with our marching. So neutral spine, shoulders relaxed and down. Straight line down the front of the body. Natural curve in the lower back. Weight sitting just above the tailbone. When you're ready, without tilting the pelvis, you're going to float your right foot off the floor to come to that 90-degree knee fold position. So front of knee just over crease of the hip. Still keeping that neutral spine, and then float the foot to the floor. Same on the other leg. So we're back to floating now. We're not sinking. The mattress is gone. You've got to stretch out and support your own weight. So take your time. Float your leg up to 90 degrees. Feel the front abdominal muscles doing some work, all that corset area doing some work, and float the foot down. The other leg doesn't lift until this foot is down. one leg at a time, floating and down. And your aim is to make sure the pelvis isn't tilting at all, the shoulders are relaxed, the rib cage is neutral. With these moves, even if you know you're able to do both feet off the floor at once, spend some time alternating, because that's how we move our body. So we need that control, that the whole body doesn't tip from side to side as we transfer our weight when we're walking and running and cycling and all that jazz. Okay. Float the leg up, hold it for a couple of seconds so you're aware of the weight of that leg in the hip. And down. One more, lift and down. Now, you can have a stretch out and repeat that, or you can come to double knee fold if you want to. So for double knee fold, you bring the one leg up. You might want to bring the knee in a little bit closer, just to reduce the curve in your back if you've got a very arched spine, and then you float the other leg up. So you've got both legs at knee fold position or slightly more towards you if that suits you. Hold it for a couple of seconds and all the way down. Both feet touch the floor, so you rest and you repeat. So float one leg up. Find that position for you. Might be complete neutral, might be slightly modified. Float the other leg up. Relax the shoulders, lengthen the spine. Try not to push back against your mat. Feet down one at a time. So I really want you to feel these abdominals working. They can't work if they're bunched out. If they're bunched out and pushing out into a big pot shape, your lower back is doing the work. Go back to level one, or if you're quite sure that you are strong enough, it's your postures that's wrong. You need to bring the knee in a little bit closer if your belly is doming, but you know you're strong enough for level two. So float up, relax the shoulders, float up. Hold for a few seconds. Again, use your breath. Breathe in, breathe out, feet to the floor. Get ready to repeat. Just gives you that kind of timing thing. Stay there for a breath. Feel your rib cage move as you breathe in. Drag that air into your lungs. Do one more. Lift. Lift. Okay, have a quick stretch out because I'm going to move that into scissors. So you need to give these hip flexors a bit of a stretch. If they are feeling a little bit tight, if you've got a cushion handy, you can stick that under your bum or just use your hands and just lift your hips slightly off the floor. So they're a bit higher than your knees, and that will just give you a quick stretch in the hips because we're going to work them again in a sec. Okay, so we're going to do scissors. So I'm going to go back to level one. So scissors, one leg off to the floor to 90 degrees. And this time, rather than lift and lower, you're going to tap. So keeping the leg in the same shape, you're going to move down towards the floor. So you just tap your toe and bring the leg back up and slightly towards you. So you're just moving through that hip. Keep the pelvis tight. So your weight stays just above your tailbone in your neutral position on your spine, and you're moving through this leg. You're going to do me about 5 on the one leg, whichever leg you've chosen. Keep the knee at 90 degrees. So your lower abdominal muscles are having to work now to help you lift that leg and pull it in and lower it down. When you've done 5, change legs. So other leg, 90 degrees. Tap your toe to the floor and bring the leg in. Relax your toes. This is a good toe cramp if you're not careful because you're trying to touch your toes to the floor. Relax your toes. They'll touch the floor when your leg moves far enough away from you. Keep the knee bent. Imagine a rolled up sock behind your knee. You can get one if you want to. Rolled up sock at the back of your knee so that you're not straightening and bending the knee. You're actually working from this hip joint. Do 5 in each, 5 on this leg as well. And then you've got a choice of repeating, stretching out, repeating, getting stronger, or coming to level 2. So level 2, come to double knee fold again. Again, bring the knees in a little bit closer if you need to. Now be careful of this one. You might not touch the floor with your toe tap. It doesn't matter if you don't. You take the leg forward until that hip says, that's it. And you bring the other knee towards you. So you've got a little one leg going one way, one leg coming the other way. They come back to centre and they cross over like scissors. Doesn't matter if your toe does not touch the floor. What I don't want you to do is touch the floor and overarch your back in order to do it. So find your neutral on that pelvis and then move your legs as far as you can, maintaining that neutral. That's the strength. Keeping that neutral while your legs challenge it. One knee comes towards your chest, opposite foot goes towards the floor. Your knees stay bent, rolled up socks behind the knees. Really gets these abdominals fired up. Can you feel them? Yeah, Sharon, we can. I'm not going to tell you exactly how many to do. 10. But it's all about the strength in these abdominals holding you. Good. It's good for working your hips. If it's too much, if you're shaking around the neck, you're not breathing, go back to level 1. Okay, when you've had enough, you're probably getting a bit of an issue around those hips. We're going to do some hip lifts. You need to take your block from underneath your head now, so your head's flat on the floor, knees are bent, soles of the feet on the floor, feet comfortably close to your bum so that your lower leg is vertical. So from heel to knee is a straight line. Relax the shoulders and push your hips up till you feel your bum muscles working and maybe stretch down the front of the legs. Remember, I offered you a modification for this one last time, no pelvic tilting. If you find it easier to keep the pelvis neutral, have your knees and feet wider. Gives you a bit more stability to help you push your hips up and not tilt your pelvis backwards or forwards, so up. So wider feet, wider knees if that feels comfy, or hip distance if you're okay. Really lift your hips up. We want your bum muscles to do the push to get those hips up. Stretching hip flexors that have just been working quite hard. So push up. If you're prone to cramp, do not push down hard on your heels because you will get cramp. So you've got to ground through your shoulders and the sole of your foot at the same time, not just your heels. Keep lifting. Drive up. If you can, stay up in that bridge and float your arms up. Really lift your hips, but I don't want you to tilt the pelvis forward. Bring the arms back up to the ceiling and lower yourself to the mat. It's all about using your bum muscles to lift you. Grounding down through the soles of your feet, through the back of your shoulders, knees lined up with your toes, and then float your arms up and back. You might find with your arms back you can lift your hips a bit higher and then float your arms up and push down to the floor. And again, lift, float the arms. See if you can just lift your hips, but we're not lifting the hips by tilting the pelvis, we're pushing through the glutes. Back to the ceiling and down. 2 more, come on, you can. Lift, float the arms, lift the hips a bit higher. Excellent. Float the arms and down. Use these leg muscles, don't let your knees wander around wherever they fancy. Lift. Got a vision then of your knees wandering off to make a cup of tea. Float the hips up. Float the arms back, lift the hips. I've got to range now. Float the arms up to the ceiling and back to the floor. Good. Draw your knees into your chest, stretch your lower back if it needs it. Doing for time, smash them. Okay, we're going to do some seated work now. So put your feet down on the floor, hands underneath you, push yourself up to sitting. Sit on a block or a cushion or rolled up towel if you want to, if you find sitting isn't very comfortable for you. Have your knees apart on your legs as bent or straight as right for you. We're going to do our beetle and angel. So sitting up nice and tall to start with, sitting bones underneath you, and then you're going to allow your weight to come forward. Try and hinge as much from the hip as you can to just stretch the lower back and let your weight sit on your legs. Breathe into your back. And then drag your arms back up your legs, stack your spine. And when you're looking forward, open those arms out. Pull the shoulders back and down. Breathe into your belly and use your back muscles to support you. And then when you've had enough, let your weight come forward. Try and come up and over rather than just dropping from your shoulders. Try and come up out of that lower spine so you're bringing your lower body forward a little bit as well. Breathe into your back. See if you can get your belly a little bit closer to your knees. Oh, it's rude, Sharon, rude. Bring your belly closer to your knees, relax your shoulders. And feel that nice stretch in those lower back muscles. And then drag your hands back up your legs, stack from tailbone to crown, so you're naturally looking forward. Relax your shoulders and open out. Breathe deep. Pull the shoulder blades together and pull them down towards your hips. And come forward again when you're ready. So what you're looking for is on each loosen, hamstrings, lower back, all loosens to allow you to come forward a little bit more, a little bit easier. Breathe into your back. And then drag yourself up. And open out. Okay, stay here now. Put one hand behind you, sort of have your thumb lined up with your spine, and you're going to turn in that direction. So I've got my left hand behind me, my left shoulder's moving back, my right shoulder's moving forward. Keep your chin lifted and use these back muscles to support your weight. Very little weight on your hand. Come back to centre. Change sides. So for me, my right hand's going back, my right shoulder's going back, my left shoulder's coming forward. My back muscles are lifting me up out of my hips, and my head is neutral. Try not to press too hard into your hand. You should be using your back muscles to hold you up, not your arm. And come back. If that means you need to change leg position to give you a little bit more support, you might want to cross at the ankle or sit on that block, if that helps. Try and lift up out of your hips. I want you to feel this work in your upper back as the shoulders rotate. To centre, change sides. One shoulder moves back, other shoulder moves forward. Relaxing down, lift your chest. And go once more each way. It's a nice stretch, this one. So hand behind you, rotate. Mind you, don't pull too hard on your leg with your other arm. It's all that upper body doing the work. So you draw from, if your left hand's behind you, your left shoulder moves back. Right shoulder moves forward. Back to centre, last one. Hand behind you, shoulder moves back, other shoulder comes forward. Lift out of your hips. And relax. Lovely. Okay, a bit of chest stretching. Now, hands, you might not need to be on your block now if you're on it, because you're going to be leaning back slightly. So take the block away if you want to. Rest on your fingertips, kind of make a tent shape with your fingertips, so you're not putting too much weight. Look forward in your natural eye line, and I want to pull your shoulders back together and pull them down so you're arching your upper back. Breathe deep, you'll feel that stretch across your chest, might go right into your armpits. Try not to press heavy on your fingers. Breathe deep and then relax, let your shoulders drop forward and relax round your upper back. So have another go. So pull your shoulder blades together and pull them down your back and lift your sternum up. Lift this breastbone up. Breathe deep. If you're pressing hard on your fingers, they're not going to like it, so you're going to hold your own weight up, not pressing into your hands. Breathe. And then let your shoulders drop forward and your upper back round slightly and give it a rest. Once more, pull your shoulders back together and down. Lift your sternum, lift your rib cage. Take the weight out of your fingers and breathe deep. Cool. And relax. Now we're going to always take that one into leg pull so you know it's coming. If you've got problems, it's this one. I'll remind you, that one where you're up into a table shape. If it's too much for your shoulders, or you just don't like it, repeat what we've just done. So you can do a bit of twisting and then a bit of stretching and lifting the sternum. So you're getting those upper back muscles working without the strain on the shoulders. But otherwise, hands behind you, well, underneath your shoulders actually, so not too far behind you, and turned whichever way supports your shoulders, so wherever your hands feel comfortable. Now, pull your shoulders back and down like you just did. Plant your feet on the floor and then you're going to push into your hands and your feet at the same time, lift your bum off the floor and try and straighten into a table shape. Now, pull your shoulders together and pull them down your back. Press into the soles of your feet and lift your hips. Make sure your knees haven't gone too wide. Push into the heels of your hands. Stay here if you can for 3, 2, 1 and down. If you find that too difficult, quite often if you're tight in the shoulders or the hips, you end up in a scooped shape rather than a table. If that's the case, have one leg straight. It gives you a little bit more help at the hip, so then you can focus on pulling the shoulders back and down. So that's your modification. Otherwise, back to both feet on the floor, pull the shoulders together and down your back, press into the heels of your hands and the soles of your feet and lift and straighten the body. So you're pulling your shoulders back, pressing your sternum up, pressing your pelvis up, pushing down in the soles of your feet, not the heels, you'll get cramp. 5, 4, lift, 3, 2, 1, and down. Well done. Sit forward. Nice stretch for those shoulders. That is really good for just protecting and supporting that rotator cuff. Talking of which, some side lying work. So on your side, block, towel, arm, whatever underneath your head to support your head. Knees bent. We're going to do the arms circling, so I would bring the legs more into a 45 angle, so sort of a seated position, 90 whatever, I forgot my maths, but 90 degree at the knee and the hip, shoulders back and down. Start with your arm bent and your hand just sitting on your shoulder, and then you're going to circle round. So you're going to let your upper body rotate back, trying to keep your legs still on the floor. So you're rotating, trying to draw a circle on the seat. And I want you to really use these upper back muscles to draw you back, to draw your shoulder down your back, to allow you to move your elbow. If this feels okay and there's no clicking, everything feels fine, you can take it into the straight arm circle if you want it. More weight here, so if it does feel that you're pinching into that shoulder, go back to the bent arm. Try and make the legs nice and heavy and draw the waist away from the floor a little bit. Just give you a bit of support. Reaching round. Try and reach a little bit further on each circle, but remember your technique. Don't overreach. Yet. And we go, draw the shoulder down, open up the chest. Yep, Betty's on the move. You might be getting up in a minute. You might come into view. Ah, there he is. Yes. Alright, and then we're going to get into the hips. So keep your bottom leg bent, just pull the foot back a bit, and straighten the top leg. So we're going to do half a scissor. So you've got your top leg straight and your heel about level with your tailbone. Push that leg away until your hips feel level and draw your waist away from the floor. Squeeze the waist muscles and the belly in to keep everything still there, and you're going to move your foot forward and back, and you're moving at that hip joint, so the knee stays straight, the lower back stays neutral, and you're moving through your hip joint. Squeeze your bum to pull the leg back, squeeze your belly to pull the leg forward. So we're really working on this hip extension and flexion of the hip joint, really moving the leg forward and back. Try and keep your foot, the outside of your ankle, about level with the outside of your hip, thereabouts, and you're working on this abduction, strengthen the outside of the leg. Tempting to watch the foot, but draw the shoulders back and look forward instead. Stay with this if you want to. If you find false scissors just hurts your hip the hip underneath you, stay with this. Otherwise, keep that leg still for a second and straighten the other leg up to match it. Tense the inner thigh muscles just a bit so this bottom leg can just move without dragging on the floor. Find your neutral spot, so push through your feet so you're not sinking into the floor at your hip. Pull your waist in and then you scissor both legs together. It's not always comfortable on the hips. Sometimes it just seems that everything's a bit tight on this one. So stay with just the first option if you want to. But if you're doing both legs together, keep the knees straight. Keep the top leg lifted and then you'll find it easy to move the bottom leg. If the top leg drops down, it kind of traps the bottom leg, so keep it lifted so your outside of your ankle is level with the outside of your hip, waist muscles pulled in, and try and get that stretch on your hips as you move the legs. Feels like that scissor we were getting earlier, that splits. Really stretch these hips out. Use your abdominal muscles to help you. Lengthen out and float on your mat. Okay, and then bend your legs. There's only so much of that. You can stand with that hip. We'll do a bit of hip lifting now, side plank. We'll do a bit of side plank now to come off that hip. So push yourself up. I'm going to do this one on my hand because I'm going to move plank on a little bit. But if you want to do on your elbow, you can do. Right, start with your bottom leg bent and your top leg straight. And again, line your heel up with the tailbone and look forward. You're going to lift this bottom hip off the floor and you're going to lift your top arm up to the ceiling. If you want to and it doesn't pinch, you can bring your arm towards your ear. Really rainbow that body up. New word, you like that? And then back to the floor. So lift your hip up, float the arm up and float it towards your ear if you want to. Make a rainbow, make that arc shape and back. Once more this way, so lift and float. Now, if you want to, keep repeating what we're going to do, but what I'd like to do if you can, that top leg, rest on the inside edge of your foot and squeeze your bum on that top leg. Press down into the heel of your hands that's supporting you. Make sure your hand is under your shoulder. And then you're going to take the bottom leg away. So you're going to straighten that bottom leg out so it's off the floor. Bend it and put the knee back down and then sit back to the floor. I'll go through it again. So lift yourself up. Make sure you've got this top leg so you're on the inside edge of your foot, otherwise you won't be able to do it. Push down on the heel of your hand. Tighten this weight. And then when you're ready, take the weight off the bottom leg and slide it out till it's straight. Bend it, put the weight back on that leg and sit down. You're going to have one more go at that. So up to your plank, side plank, float your arm up, stretch out through your body. Press down through your hand and the inside edge of your foot and straighten the other leg out. Bend it and back down. How did that go? Marvellous, Sharon, it was lovely. Been waiting for that. Right, over onto your other side, bring your cushion around if you want to. Bit of arm circling. So down we go. Engage the back muscles, bring the legs into your chair position, bend your top arm and circle round. So we're rotating this spine again. Little bit of weight in the legs to stop them coming with you. Stretch your back. Really start to feel that mobilising around that shoulder joint. Rotate round. If this feels okay, try it with your arms straight. Any pinching, any tingling, bend the arm or stop. But reaching otherwise. Let the circle get a little bit bigger. Try and keep the legs still. Pull your waist in. Imagine your belt a little bit tighter around your middle and put a little bit more weight into the legs just to stop them coming with you. Open out. Good. One more. And then we'll do our scissors. Good. So we'll start with just the one leg. So one leg is bent along the floor, other leg is straight, and it lifts till your ankle's about level with the outside of your hip. Push your foot away. As if somebody's just grabbed your ankle and pulled the leg away, you'll find that lifts your waist a little bit, so you're not sinking into the floor. It will help. Keep that top leg lifted, zip yourself up, engage your back muscles, and then move it forward and back. And you're just moving from this hip joint. So you'll feel your bum muscles squeeze, you'll feel your thighs working, your thigh working on this top leg. Slow down a little bit, find your balance. If you're overworking, then you'll feel it in your neck because your body's looking for something to balance you. So if you're getting that, stretch this top leg out a little bit as if somebody's pulling your ankle towards the wall, pulling your foot towards the wall. and then make the move a little bit smaller and a little bit slower. You might be just working a bit too hard. Stay with this, really good for mobilising and strengthening around the hips, so stay with this if it suits you, or straighten the bottom leg out. You've got to use your inner thigh muscles a little bit to keep this bottom leg lifted, and you've got to, again, imagine the soles of your feet trying to touch the wall. So really stretch out, pull the waist in, and then you scissor both legs. Top leg's got to stay following its line. If it drops down, then you're not going to be able to move the bottom leg. It's going to feel too heavy. Again, check out the neck. If the neck's aching, you might be working too hard or too quickly. So maybe make the move a little bit smaller, a little bit slower. Zip yourself up in the centre. Nice one for getting a stretch in the hip and strength around the bum muscles, this one. Pull that waist in, your belt's gone an extra notch tighter. If it goes any tighter, showing my eyes will pop out my head. Have you got to that stage now where you not only ask a question, you answer it? Oh, that's a bit worrying, isn't it? Oh, never mind. Yeah. And then bend your legs, good. All right, let's come off this bottom hip with a bit of side plank. So again, stay on your forearm and stay with the first bit if you want to, or come up onto your hand ready for the advanced move in a sec. So bottom leg bent, top leg straight, hips stacked, shoulders back and down, looking forward. So when you're ready, you're going to pull this bottom hip off the floor, reach up and over with this arm if it suits you, and really rainbow, really arch your body up and back to the floor. And again, lift, push down with your hand and your foot to lift this top arm up and over. So you're really trying to use these underside waist muscles, squeeze them in and back down. And do one more like this, and then we add the extra bit on if you want. So come up and over. So if you're going to stay here, reach with this hand, reach with the crown of your head, press down through the inside edge of your foot and your heel of your hand, straighten the leg out. Rainbow up. Bend the leg, back to the floor. How was that? Two more? Yes. Lift up, reach over, reach through your head, press with the hand and the foot, take the other leg out. Lift your hip away from that floor. Back down. One more if you can. Check your hand hasn't slid away. It must support the shoulder. Lengthen the spine. Come up to your bridge. Your plank. Reach up and over with your arm. Push through the floor and straighten the leg out. Lift your hips. Put the knee down and back. Good. Little rest. We'll come up onto the hands and knees for a second. We're going to do lying flat in a sec, but just to loosen up. So just on your hands and knees and circle your hips round. Probably feel that work. Your waist has worked, hopefully. Just circle and loosen up. And do some lying on your front work. We're nearly done now. Just want to get those upper back and bum muscles working a smidge more. So when you're ready, down on your front for some swan dive. So arms down by your sides. Stretch out through your body, float, suck your belly button to spine and try and get your tailbone just pointing down towards your heel. So maybe tuck under just slightly. Tense your leg muscles as if you're trying to pull your knees away from the floor. Try and press the crown of your head towards the wall in front of you. Stretch out, breathe in, and as you breathe out, lift yourself up just slightly so the pressure eases off your chest. Not enough to fill your lower back doing any work. Gently press down through your pelvis, tense your legs. Pull your shoulders away from your ears. And then back to the floor when you're ready. I'm saying all those instructions because what tends to happen in swan dive is people just go, ugh, I'm up. But all you're doing then is using the floor to rebound off. So I want you to use your own muscle strength. So stretch out, tense the leg muscles, pull the shoulders back and down, suck your belly button in, and when you're ready, use your upper back muscles to lift you enough to feel the pressure release off your chest, but not that high that your lower back is pulling you up. Pull your shoulders down your back. Tense your legs a little bit and squeeze your bum. You might find you can go up a smidge more. and back to the floor. 2 more. Stretch out, tense the legs. Use your upper back muscles to lift you. If you need to go back to the floor, then do, but if you can, tense the legs and squeeze the bum a little bit more. Stretch the spine. Let's squeeze an extra little bit out. Back down. 1 more. We really need to keep these upper back muscles strong. So stretch out, tense the leg muscles and the bum. Reach the crown of your head towards the wall in front of you and lift yourself up. Suck your belly button in. Tuck your tailbone under slightly if you feel like you're sticking your bum out. And back. Well done. It's a lot harder than you think, that one. Arms out for a bit of swimming. If you've got any shoulder injuries, keep your arms down by your sides and just do the leg moves. Otherwise, arms out in front. Relax your shoulders away from your ears. Tense your legs again. Suck your belly button in and tuck your tailbone under if you feel that you're sticking your bum out and pressing into your belly. Right, you're going to raise your right arm just slightly off the floor. Tense your bum and lift your left leg the same height. And back down. Same on the other side. So lift your left arm first and then squeeze your bum and lift your right leg the same height. Match up. And down. And I want you to use your bum muscles and your thigh muscles to lift the leg, not your lower back. So we don't want any arch in the back or lift in the hip. So lift the arm, pull the shoulder back and down, tense the leg and lift the leg the same height. Really use those muscles in your bum. Suck your belly button in. Feel that you're tucking your tailbone under you if you're feeling it in your lower back. And down. Other side. So lift. Arm and leg. Match them up as best you can without seeing them. Relax your shoulders. Squeeze those abdominal muscles. Squeeze those bum muscles. And down. Once more. I lied. Lift the opposite arm and leg. Pull the shoulders. Really think about using your back muscles here to hold you off that floor. If you're feeling it in your lower back, tuck your tailbone under, squeeze your bum a little bit tighter. And down. Last one. Lift. Who knew your arm and leg could be this flipping heavy, eh? And release. Good. Nice back stretch. So bring your hands in a little bit so you've just rested on your elbows. So your hands are a little bit closer towards you, chest is off the floor. And then we're going to lift up. We're going to use the back muscles to lift us. Pelvis stays on the floor. Nice back arch now in the back stretch. And down. How close your hands come to your body depends on how flexible you are. So start them quite a way away and lift yourself up. And if that feels okay, then you can bring them a little bit closer. But you're not pushing yourself up, you are using your back muscles to lift you up. Good. So it's not all in the arms, this one. You're arching, stretching your back. If you've been in the garden or you've been doing a lot of sitting, you've been sat with your pelvis or you've been stood with your pelvis sort of tilted back. This is tilting it forward. So nice heavy pelvis, relax the shoulders. Good. So finding that arm position, you might find after a couple of reps you can bring your hands in a little bit closer and lift yourself a bit higher, but use your upper back muscles to lift you. Make sure you're keeping your pelvis tilted into the floor. Couple more. Lift yourself up. Relax your shoulders. Doesn't matter if your arms are straight, your arms aren't doing anything but support you up there. So they don't need to be straight or locked out. They're just stopping you dropping on your nose. One more. Up. And down. Good. Up onto your hands and knees. Bring your big toes together and your knees apart and sit back into your child's pose. If you don't like child's pose, lie on your side and bring your knees into your chest, or lie on your back and bring your knees into your chest. It's just bring your knees to chest, whichever way. So it doesn't matter if you want to do that instead, but if you're in child's pose, toes together, knees apart, you have your arms just out in front, or you can fold them underneath your head if you want to. And breathe. So we're stretching the front of the ankles, and letting the hips drop down. Relax the shoulders. If it's not comfortable, then try lying on your side or lying on your back. No point being in a stretch if your body's just screaming and it needs to get out of it. And back up onto your hands and knees, and we'll do a plank, 3/4 plank and child's pose to finish. So bring your hands slightly further forward. Now you're not going into that cobra stretch, you're coming forward into 3/4 plank. So as your weight comes forward, push into the heels of your hands and push the floor away from you. Keep a neutral spine, so tailbone is pointing down to the back of your knees. Suck your belly in, push yourself away from that floor, strong position. Then back up onto your hands and knees and let your hips move back. You can bring your hands with you, or you can leave them out for upper back and shoulder stretch. Back, stretch and letting your chest sink down a little bit more towards the floor. And then back up, and as your weight starts to come forward, activate these arm muscles, activate these shoulders, don't drop forward. Good. Squeeze your butt muscles, get these arms working. Up. And sit back. See if you can leave your hands where they were and move your hips back so you get a nice shoulder stretch. Sink your chest down a little bit. And up and forward. Push the floor away. Squeeze your bum. Nice hip flexor stretch. Come back up onto your hands and knees. Tuck your toes under, bring your hands just in front of your knees so you can push down onto your hands and bring yourself back onto your feet. If you've got any osteoporosis or any issues with your discs, then straight up to standing. The rest of you, you're going to hang here like a doll, just ragdoll. Let the weight come into the front of your feet and just hang. Relax the neck. Try and send your tailbone. You have your knees as bent as you want to. It's not about stretching the legs, this is about the lower back. So have your knees bent so you feel comfy, but try and tilt your pelvis up so your tailbone's pointing up to the ceiling. Relax your neck and breathe. And if you want to, just let yourself rock about a little bit. Just let it all go. Well, not all go. Got some standards, but let some of it go. And then we're going to come up, so put your hands on your legs and walk yourself up to standing. Slowly uncurling, head comes up last of all. Relax the shoulders down. Good. Hopefully upper body feels a little bit looser. Good. Nice big deep breath, nice big circles. A few arm swings. Swinging the arms backwards and forwards. Okay, monkey swings to finish. I promise this is the end. Arms out in front, feet wide enough apart for balance. You're going to swing your arms back and sit into your squat. Bum back and down. Drive through your legs, come up, reach up, and if you want to do a little back bit, tighten your abs to bring you back to neutral and swing again. Go at your pace, swing it out. 2 more. 1 more. When you've done, reach, press your feet into the floor, reach your head for the ceiling, arms down. My dears, we've done another one. They're cracking up these, aren't they? Any comments or questions, as always, please get in touch. It's nice to hear from you. You know you're all still out there. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.